Billy Joel, completely retold. Welcome to It's Still Billy Joel to Me, the official live stream of Billy Joel, completely retold on Facebook, where it's always 9 o'clock on a Saturday. All right, today's going to be a vintage article day. I've got myself an issue of People magazine from March 19th, 1979. So this would have been after 52nd Street came out. It says, Billy Joel rocks Cuba. He wasn't hijacked. Fidel invited him, and Chris and Rita for Havana Woodstock. That, of course, refers to Havana Jam, 1979. So I'm just going to read here. Well, I'll show you the pictures first. Shows a couple of the performers. You can see there. And then, of course, a nice shot of Billy in the ocean. Some of the captions here. We got, Stephen Stills, who boned up on Cuba before arriving, spoke Spanish and sang a song he composed for his Havana fans. Up in the corner was Billy Joel, 29, floundered in the surf, but caught a perfect wave during his emotional jam-capping set above. Stan Getz helped set the festival in motion in 1977 when he, Dizzy Gillespie, and Earl Hines jammed on Havana Layover. Oh, so the origin story. Then over here, guitarist John McLaughlin helped Weather Report's Joe Zonfel get flippered. Oh, he's helped him put some flippers on. The people are great and the weather is great, muttered Zonfel, but the food stinks. Okay, tell me what you really feel. All right, we've got the article here. In Billy Joel's explosive past year, the scene could have been anywhere. Thousands of shrieking fans as he pounded into his now signature ballad, Just the Way You Are. They pressed in, crowding, sweating, lunging, waving. Joel stalked the stage with an almost manic fervor, slapping hands that reached like a frieze over the apron. Yet this was not the Hollywood Bowl or even Madison Square Garden. It was incongruously a 4,800-seat Karl Marx Theater, just west of downtown Havana, Cuba. Over the past 20 years, the only other living person who has moved an audience with such charismatic intensity is in the same venue, to use a rock term, has been Fidel Castro. This was an emotional end of a historic Havana Jam 79. Which, in its way, might do the same thing for Cuban relations with the U.S. that ping-pong diplomacy did for the Chinese. Not even the New York Yankees, after all, were able to get away with the international coup that Columbia Records wrought. 3 concerts over 4 days in Havana, the first such Cuban-American collaboration since Castro's 1959 revolution. In addition to Joel, the lineup included Chris Christopherson and his wife, Rita Coolidge, folk rocker Stephen Stills, the jazz group Weather Report, the Columbia Jazz All-Stars with Stan Getz, John McLaughlin, Hubert Laws, Jimmy and Percy Heath, Salsa's Fania All-Stars, and native Cuban bands like the thundering 11-member group Iraquiri. The label's motive, to be sure, was as much to foster a better bottom line as international goodwill. CBS pumped some $300,000 into the project, and plans to release 3 LPs from the 3 shows and syndicate a nationwide radio special. In addition, TV crews filmed 45 hours for a Hope For special and a short on CBS's Sunday Morning News. The invasion began last month when 2 DC-6s and a C-46 jaunced into Havana Jose Marti Airport with more than 40 tons of musical material. Then, on March 1st, a chartered TWA 707 roared in, depositing 134 Americans under a bright Cuban sun. One wiseacre christened the maneuver the Bay of Gigs. Some of the musicians present may have felt less prepared than even the 1961 invaders. To ensure that the jam went more like Midnight Special than Midnight Express, the rockers were warned to leave their drug stashes at home. Other sacrifices were even more drastic. There was, Lord forbid, no TV or room service in the beachfront Marzu Hotel. Taxis, much less limos, were nearly impossible to find for the 20-minute trip into Havana. Phone services were all but non-existent. Said Christopherson of the Spartan accommodations, "They must have thought we'd destroy all the rooms. They might have heard of Keith Moon. That's probably why the room didn't have didn't have rugs." Worse, aside from Elizabeth Joel, Billy's wife and manager, and Rita Coolidge, who performed, almost no old ladies were allowed along. Watching two stunning dancers in bodysuits during the fabled Tropicana Club's floor show, a member of Joel's entourage yelled at his comrades, "Hey, is it horny in here, or is it just me?" Given the logistical complexities of a rock jazz show, not to mention dealing with Cuba's Leninist Latin bureaucracy, the shows were a triumph of cooperation, goodwill, and superb sound quality. There were, however, some odd twists. The crew's request for a CB-type hookup between the theater site and the hotel was denied. Why? Cuban military officials feared their own communications would be intercepted. Not the Cubans were the only maestros of the monkey wrench. Joel, currently CBS's most potent commercial artist, his The Stranger and 52nd Street albums have sold more than 8 million in 2 years, refused to cooperate with the LP or the film projects. "I'm not down here on some capitalist adventure," he said. "I'm here to play music for these people." Good on you, Billy. Between concerts, the American musicians rubbernecked. Richie Cannata, Joel's sax and keyboard player, all right, Richie, go Rico, was freaked out by the time warp of the endless parade of 20 to 30-year-old Detroit cars rolling through town with bald tires. The two native-born Cuban members of one visiting group, Fania, tearfully rendezvoused with members of their families for the first time in 20 years. Everyone took guided bus tours and disposed President Fulgencio Barista's former palace, which is now the Museum of the Revolution. Joel, the Christophersons, and many others were struck by the slim souvenir pickings in a city once swarm with tourists. Rita bought T-shirts for several posters. Joel almost bought a Cuban baseball uniform. Everybody shopped for Havana cigars and rum. And then we turn the page. Joel and some friends were turned away from an old Ernest Hemingway haunt, he reported, because they said we looked like hippies. All right, I got some more pictures on this page. We can see there. Havana Jam musicians. Get in the middle there. And over on the side. Let's see the captions for these. It says, Chris, Rita, and percussionist Willie Bobo ham it up in front of the Museum of the Revolution, once Batista's palace. Weather reports Jaco Pastorius went rubbernecking in Old Havana, but wound up an object of bystander curiosity. At Havana's Tropicana nightclub, a gaudy pre-Castro showcase, Joel spins out with his manager wife, Liz. Oh, that is Billy. Look at that shirt. All right, and then a Tropicana couldn't get Chris to let loose on stage. I did that in Spain once and made an ass of myself. He's just chilling out. If the Americans had trouble coming away with any tangible trophies from the austere socialist capital, the Cubans who made contact with the Americans savored the most trifling gifts from their guests. After hitting a baseball around with some kids in town, Cannata passed around cigarettes, GI style. Joe handed out glossy PR photos and autographed them. Havana Jam t-shirts and blue jeans and dollars were also coveted. One American reporter was offered a date with an attractive Cuban in exchange for his $35 running shoes. A musician, as a memento of their evening together, gave a woman he met at a bar an American hotel soap. She held it up to her nose, he said, closed her eyes, and said, "Ah, gracias, gracias." The shelves in the stores here are all empty. The others spent their days soaking up the blistering sun and swimming in the clear green salty surf. Joe Zawano, Weather Report's Austrian-born keyboardist, read Schopenhauer on the beach. Guitarist John McLaughlin practiced in his room and played frisbee with Weather Report's bassist Jacob Asturias, who brought Nietzsche. Thus spake Zarathustra to read. Joel read Harrison Salisbury's tome on Russia, Black Night, White Snow. One group of Cuban students told Joel on the beach that they listened nightly to American music from Miami and as far away as Little Rock, Arkansas. Joel's own tape deck was playing McCartney's Hands Across the Water. Then they switched on a radio. The Miami station was playing Le Freak. What little contact the Americans had with Cubans left indelible, if differing, impressions. Zuanino felt an integrated, beautiful friendliness. McLaughlin noted, "There is no street life like there is in the other Latin American capitals. This is like a Warsaw Pact country that happens to be in the Caribbean." Christopherson, who speaks Spanish, disagreed. "There's no way you can suppress the Cuban spirit." At least one musician revealed a less lofty perspective. "I can't wait to get back to New York so I can snort some cocaine and smoke a J." The Yankees' leisurely daytime pace picked up during evening rides to their theater in buses stocked with rum and beer. Backstage at the Karl Marx was dubbed Mojito City for the rum mint lime juice drink and kept spirits afloat through the 5-hour concerts. On the third night of the festival, as previous days, rumors that the Maximum leader would be on hand stirred the hall, but once again Fidel never showed. Still, for the younger, hipper-looking crowd that night, there were the sheer excitement of the history-making jam, screaming, "Billy Joel!" Some fans surged forward to the stage when he opened. As he often does, Joel popped a bass piano string. He threw it, writhing, out into the crowd. A fan yelled reassuringly, "Don't care!" All the barriers had fallen. He ended his set, and the Cubans brazenly shouted a dozen grim-faced guards off the stage with calls for an encore. A moist-eyed male fan said over the din, "We listen to him on radio, and when the weather is clear, we can see Soul Train on television. But now, here's Billy. This is the most important thing to happen in 20 years. For the American performers, some of that thrill wore off, at least briefly, the next day during their departure, when the entourage was stalled for 4 hours at the airport. The wrong boarding passes were distributed. The luggage conveyors broke. Chris Christopherson scanned the scene and cracked, "Looks like the fall of Saigon to me," said one exhausted CBS staffer. "I learned a new Spanish phrase this trip. Mas nunca." It means never again. The native Cubans hope that this is not the case. As they spilled onto the deserted Havana streets after the finale, one young Cuban turned to an American friend and asked, "They maybe come back next year this time?" By Jim Jerome.
The audience reaction was phenomenal. I didn't know what the reaction was going to be. I didn't even know how much of my music that they knew. I didn't know if they knew any of my music. I had never played in Cuba.
Hello, Cuba.
So it was all a big experiment to me. I had no idea. It was a surprise to me. I went on last.
Estados Unidos, Billy Joel.
So I go on stage and
No hablo español. Hablo un poquito español.
And then right into Big Shot. The crowd goes nuts. We went right up to the edge of the stage, which is what we wanted. We wanted to be a little subversive.
Good night, Cuba. Don't take any shit from anybody.
Hello, my name is Ernesto and I'm a Cuban filmmaker. For the last 10 years, I have been putting together a documentary about the Havana Jam, that historic 3-day music festival that took place here at the Karl Marx Theater 40 years ago. I have got this far by myself, but I cannot finish it without your help. So I will appreciate your sincere support. Yeah, let's go. Hello, my My name is Ernesto Juan from Sudan Productions, and I am the producer, or the director, writer, and proud historian of the Havana Jam. And yes, that was the sizzle reel I shot in Havana a couple of years ago when I launched my crowdfunding campaign through GoFundMe that raised the amazing amount of $1,900. So if you're new to this channel and you don't know what the Havana Jam is about, I will leave a link in the comments to the Havana Jam 79 Facebook page and the Havana Jam Appreciation Society Facebook page in case you want to become a member. For those who are big fans of Billy Joel, of jazz, or of Weather Report, or Funny All-Stars, or Cuban music in general, and you don't know what the Havana Jam is, let me say that the Havana Jam was a 3-day music festival that took place at the Karl Marx Theater in Havana back in 1979 from the 2nd to the 4th of March, sponsored by Bruce Lumbaugh, who was then the president of Columbia Records, Jerry Masucci, the president of Fania Records, and the Cuban Ministry of Culture. And included on the American side, Weather Report, the CBS Jazz All-Stars, the Trio of Doom, that is Jaco Pastorius, John McLaughlin, and Tony Williams, Fania All-Stars, Stephen Stills, Bill Swan, Bonnie Bramlett, Mike Finnegan, Chris Christopherson, Rita Coolidge, and Billy Joel, who was the headliner of the festival.
Good night, Cuban. Don't take any shit from anybody.
On the Cuban side, there was Ira Carey, Pacho Alonso, Orquesta de Santiago de Cuba, Los Papines, Tata Wines, the Cuban Percussion Ensemble, Sara Gonzalez, Pablo Milanés, Manguare, and Orquesta Aragon.
Era un jam session entre músicos cubanos, músicos norteamericanos y latinos también.
Duró 3 días, viernes, sábado y domingo.
La primera noche no sabíamos lo que iba a pasar.
Los artistas no estaban anunciados.
Había un misterio.
So without a doubt, Havana Jam was a unique and very historic event that gathered musicians from different genres, from rock, pop, jazz, Latin music, and authentic Cuban music. Since I came up with this idea, some friends have been telling me that if I created this Havana Jam YouTube channel, I would be giving away the documentary, and no, that's not the case. All the footage for the documentary is already edited. What I am presenting here in this channel is new material. Actually, what I'm presenting in this channel is the material that I have nowhere to put. I have so much information, I have so much footage, I have so much so many interviews that I shot, and so many interesting stories that I have nowhere to put them. I would have to edit 4 seasons of the Havana Jam to put 1-hour episodes to be able to release and to share all the information I have. So in the Havana Jam channel, we will be presenting interviews with Billy Joel, Rita Coolidge, and some of the musicians who were part of the event, of the festival in Havana. I will also play tribute to some of the musicians who participated in the Havana Jam that I interviewed in these 11 years and sadly are no longer with us.
It was very important. It was the first time in 20 years, we went from the embargo.
During this Carter administration, we had this window of opportunity whereby cultural exchanges were encouraged.
It had been so long since the United States and Americans and Cubans had any kind of contact.
So we will be talking about how Bruce Lumbaugh came up with the idea, how he approached the Cuban authorities, how he was given access to the Ministry of Culture, what happened before the event.
Everybody was so excited about going to Cuba. We came to Cuba feeling like students.
I was very excited about the chance to go to some place like that.
Even going to Havana was an exciting proposition because it was off limits.
We were all so excited to be a part of something like this.
I remember as soon as the plane got up in the air, I went to the bathroom in the back, and there were Dexter and Willie Bobo sniffing a little powder in the back, and I thought, oh, these guys are pretty bold.
What are you doing with that? Are you crazy? He goes, I know it's the death penalty.
What happened during these 3 days?
There was an American band, then a Cuban band, an American band, and a Cuban band.
Everybody was excited. It was such a beautiful beautiful setting.
There was such camaraderie.
The musicianship was incredible.
There was a mojito bar backstage, and everybody congregated around that mojito bar.
And the mojitos were going down fast and smooth.
Después que terminamos la presentación de Iraquere, pues invitamos a varios músicos de la CBS que habían venido y subieron al escenario varios de ellos. Fue una cosa bien bonita porque eso fue un verdadero jam.
What happened after the festival?
That camaraderie and everything is what really sort of moved it down the line to get Eric Carey signed to the CBS record label and to have them as a support artist on the road with Stephen Stills.
Havana Jam was about Eric Carey.
At the airport, going through customs, we were made to wait, and when we were in line, things moved very, very slowly.
Kind of a little bit scary, because we just felt like we were never going to get out.
When we finally got back on the plane, everybody was going, "God bless America."
I will be sharing, footage that has never been released before. We will be talking about the albums released by Columbia Records. We will be talking about the Red album, which was Havana Jam, and the Blue album that was Havana Jam 2. We have a lot of information to share. Believe me that there will be a lot of surprises, so you're welcome. Remember, make sure you subscribe if you like these stories, if you want to hear, never told stories about the Havana Jam, about some of the musicians you really love, and things that have never been said in public. You will hear directly from Billy Joel, you will hear directly from John McLaughlin, you will hear directly from all the musicians who were part of the Havana Jam that are still alive, how they felt during the Havana Jam, and how they felt during the festival, and what they believe the Havana Jam meant for their careers.
Havana Jam was unique.
It was a chance to meet musicians we had never met even in the States.
We did with music what you politicians couldn't do.
It was a festival, a true festival.
It's probably the most accomplished historical thing I've ever been a part of. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Cuba.
We have so many surprises that even those who are fans of six-time Grammy winner Chucho Valdez, from originally from Iraquere. He even sat down on the piano after one of our interviews, and he played exclusively for us a rendition of Iraquere's piece Mozart's Adagio on the piano, just expressly for this channel. So if you are a Billy Joel fan, this is the channel for you. If you are a jazz fan, this is the channel for you. If you like, John McLaughlin, if you like Stephen Stills or Weather Report, or Tony Williams, or all these luminaries who were the Havana Jam, this is the channel for you, because here we will be talking about things that have never been said before. And many of these things are being told directly by these musicians. So we will hear a lot of stories about one of the most historic and unique events that has ever taken place in history of contemporary music. An event that happened in 1979, and right after it finished, it fell into oblivion. And many people don't even know that this event happened in Cuba. You ask 95% of the Cubans, and they don't even know that Billy Joel or Weather Report were ever in Havana.
Son cosas que sucedieron que en aquel momento fueron tremendamente trascendentales, fueron importantes, y después cayó como un telón de silencio.
Es esa política del silencio que nos ha perseguido, que nos sigue persiguiendo.
Date cuenta que era el enemigo en casa.
Nosotros estábamos a la defensiva y ellos no vinieron a agredirnos.
So we have a lot of surprises. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell button, and stay tuned for new uploads. See you next time.
So that is Billy's trip to Cuba for Havana Jam 1979. What a great time he had. So thanks for tuning in, and remember, you haven't heard Billy Joel till you've heard Billy Joel completely retold. We'll see you guys next time.